Hi Soulmates, welcome back to another exciting tutorial on Eleganza TV. Today I will show you how to sew this stunning Princess Dart Bustier blouse with a stylish neckline and collar. If you missed the drafting tutorial, check the description box or look out for the thumbnail here to follow along. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more amazing sewing content. Now let's get straight into the sewing. To get started, I've already placed my pattern on my fabric and I cut it out with sewing allowance included. So when making this type of asymmetric kind of dress, the placement matters. So I wanted the shoulder part to be on the left side and the smaller shoulder on the right side, unlike the video where it was different. So this is how I wanted it to be. So I now place my pattern on the back of my fabric, then I iron interfacing on it. So whatever way you place your pattern from the start, that's how you're going to place it for the back and also for the collar. So I place my pattern on my back fabric and that is how I'm going to be doing it for all the sides. Then I added half an inch sewing allowance on all the seams and then 1.5-inch seam allowance on the side part. So if you're following along, make sure to add your seam allowances during cutting to give room for neat stitching. Also make sure to notch all the important points like the underbust for the bustier and also the point where the stylish hemline begins. Now this is the single piece I've cut out for the shoulder. After adding half an inch seam allowance all around it, on the side part I used 1.5-inch to match up with the Princess Bustier seam at the bottom. So before we go ahead to start stitching, I will show you how to pad your bustier first. So to pad the bustier for a good support, I'm going to make use of a chest wadding, also known as a breast pad. So next I'll be showing you how to cut the pattern. First of all, for the center piece, I went ahead to roll the underbust line and then I just roll the chest line on top like this. So this means that for the middle part, the chest wadding is going to be from the chest line to the underbust, and you're also going to add your half an inch seam allowance. Then for the side part, I measured my nipple to nipple point divided by 2 and then I added 1 inch to the side part. Then I went ahead to just connect a curve to my underbust and also to my chest line as well. So guys, in case I'm quite fast and you don't quite understand what I'm saying, just watch closely and see what I'm doing. So I went ahead to do the same thing on the other side, measured my bust span, which is my nipple to nipple, and added 1 inch to the side of what I have. Then for the length, I used my chest line to my underbust and then I drew a curve to connect the points together like this. So firstly, I'll cut out the pattern for the bust pad. And after that, I'll cut out the lining for the front piece with front side facing each other for proper alignment. So ensure that you add arrows to your pattern so you don't make a mistake, and you're also going to add half an inch to the bustier seam. So guys, this is the back pattern already cut out on my fabric with my seam allowances. So this is how I cut it out. I added half an inch seam allowance on the princess seam for the back, and then for the other side, which is going to be the zipper area, I added 1.5-inch for zipper allowance and 1.5-inch on the side and half an inch seam on the other sides. So I've not gone ahead to cut my lining, and just like I did for the front, I placed my pattern on the back part of my fabric and I've gone ahead to add my interfacing. And this is the same thing I did for the collar as well. I placed my pattern for the collar on the back of the fabric, just like I did for the front and also for the back. Like I said, whatever you start with, you're going to continue doing that for all the other sides. So for the collar, I just added half an inch seam allowance around it. Then the part that has a zipper allowance, I added 1.5-inch to it. So the reason why I added zipper allowance of 1.5-inch to the collar is so that it can align properly with the back shape. So if I place it on the back shape like this, you can see that it is aligning well with the zipper allowance, okay? Also for the other side as well. So guys, when you're cutting on your fabric, you need to take your time so you don't make a mistake. And whatever way you place your pattern from the beginning is what you're going to continue placing the back and also the collar. And I've said that before. So I'm going to cut the lining for all the pattern pieces for the back and also for the collar. And I'll be placing them front side facing each other so it would align very well. So after padding my bust pad, I cut out my lining and then I noted the back part because lining doesn't have a back and a front. So I just marked it down so that when I separate the front pieces from the lining, it will be easy for me to join them together. Then I also went ahead to notch the underbust point to the lining and also the half length point where the styling for the M line starts. So next thing I did was to separate all the pattern like this so that I'll be able to stitch them together. So first of all, you're going to place your princess seam together and align the underbust point of the both of them. Then I'll start stitching from the bottom, and as I'm stitching, I will be covering the princess seam. When I get to the underbust, I'll be covering the princess seam to the center part, just like you see me doing. So I'm just using my pin to secure it, but I'll take it over to my sewing machine to stitch it with half an inch seam allowance. So everything I do on the main fabric, I'll also be doing on the lining. So guys, after pinning this to the end, next I will be stitching it with half an inch seam allowance, and then for the other side, you're going to place the both notch points together and also for the underbust, and then after doing that, you continue with your princess seam till you get to the top. So after joining the princess seam, and I did the same thing for the lining as well. So this is what I have it looking like. So there's a bit of excess on the top that I'll be trimming out from that cutout shoulder. While stitching the princess seam, I went in a bit at the underbust instead of using half an inch. So this is going to give it extra tightening. You're also going to do the same thing for the lining. Then after doing that, I'll open up the seams to iron properly. So guys, after ironing the seams, this is what I have it looking like. I ironed the bust area using my bust arm, and I also did the same thing for the lining. Then I've gone ahead to trim out the excess on the cutout shoulder part. So let's not forget this part. I'll be joining it to the back shoulder. So when we get to that part, you understand better. So guys, this is my back pattern after cutting the lining, and then I noted the back of the lining for all the sides so it will be easy for me to join them together. So next I'll take out my pattern pieces and show you how to stitch. So after separating my pattern, next I'm going to take out my lining and place somewhere else while I show you how to join on the main fabric. And note that it is also going to be the same thing that you do for your lining. This back dart that has zipper allowance, we are not going to be stitching that yet. To stitch the back princess seam, you're going to place the pieces right side together like this and align the edges and sew neatly. So I'll use my pins to hold it down, and I'll take it over to my sewing machine to stitch with half an inch. So guys, after sewing, this is what I have it looking like, and I've gone ahead to iron the seams open. And I also did the same thing for my lining. So I'm just placing it front side facing each other so you can see what I've done. So we're going to move on to joining the shoulders. I place the front part to the back like this, and I align the shoulder, and I'll be stitching with half an inch. So after joining the both main shoulders, I place the other cutout shoulder on the other side of the back shoulder like this, and I'll be aligning it together to stitch. And I'll also do the same for the lining. So this is what we have it looking like for the main fabric and the lining. Now let's move on to the collar. So for the collar, I've gone ahead to cut my lining front side facing each other, and I'll be stitching on the bottom seam. So I'm just going to take out my pattern and stitch with half an inch on the bottom. So I'll be stitching along with my hemming gum to make it easy for me to iron. And then after stitching, you're going to top stitch towards the lining, just your normal way of sewing your neckline. So guys, after I finished sewing the collar area and iron it properly, I went ahead to notch the shoulder well. Okay, so next I'll be showing you how to fix your collar to your neckline. So we're going to start with this smaller part. So I placed my collar on top of the neckline. I'm going to align it with the shape of the neckline and top stitch on it. After doing that part, this is what I have it looking like. And after top stitching, then for the other side, you're also going to place the collar. So I'm going to place the collar, the notch points on the collar on the shoulder seam like this. Then after pinning that one, I will continue pinning the collar to the neckline to align it properly. So when I do it for both sides, this is what I have it looking like, okay? So before I go ahead to join the shoulder, I'll first of all turn the neckline of those part of the back. So I placed it front side facing each other, and I'm going to stitch the neckline to the zipper allowance with 1/2 inch. So the part that you see me pin is the part I'll be stitching down. So after sewing, I will notch all the necessary points, and then I will turn it over to the good side and iron properly. So having done that, I'll be joining the shoulder together. So you're going to turn it over to the wrong side, just like you see me doing, and start sewing from the end of the princess seam. So where the shoulder stops. So before I join that part of the shoulder together, I want to first of all turn the neckline. So I place the shoulder seam of the lining with the main fabric together like this, and then I'm going to pin from the zipper allowance on the other end to the side part of my front piece. And then after doing that, I will stitch the zipper allowance on the other side. This part that you see me pin, I will go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'll be stitching on my hemming gum so it will be easy for me to iron. And then after doing that, I will top stitch to the lining part and then stitch the zipper allowance, okay? So guys, after turning the neckline and also the zipper allowance, so this is what I have it looking like. So I place the side part together, and I'm going to trim out any excess that I have there. So I have a little bit of excess on the armhole area. It is not equal together, so I'll trim it out on both sides. So you can see how neat the inside looks. So the next part is to turn the side part. So this cutout parts, because it is going to be joined to my armhole, I just went ahead to notch inward with 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to turn my lining towards the back to stitch the sides. So I'm just going to turn my lining like this and make sure that it is equal, and then stitch the side with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So guys, after stitching the sides, this is what I have it looking like. My collar did not get inside, but that's okay. Then for the other side, you're also going to turn it over just like you see me doing, and place the lining and the main fabric together to stitch with 1/2 inch. So while I'm stitching that side part, I'll also align the hem of the front piece together. I'll pin the lining and the main fabric to be equal, and then I'll also stitch with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So guys, because of the stylish curve on the hem, I stitch using my hemming gum, and then after doing that, I notched all the necessary seam. So you're going to turn it over to the good side and iron it properly. So next, I'm going to turn the side part of the back like this. So I turn it over to the wrong side, and I pin the lining to be equal with the main fabric, and I'll stitch the sides. While I'm stitching the sides, I'll also turn the bottom as well. So guys, after sewing the side and the bottom, I notched all the seams, and then I turned it over to the good side. Now for the other side of the back, you're also going to do the same thing. Turn it over just like you see me doing. Sew the side part and also the bottom. Then after doing that, turn it to the good side and iron properly. So guys, having done that, I just pin the 1 inch that is left for my zipper allowance, okay? So I'll take out my pins. I'm just showing you that it is 1 inch that is left for my zipper allowance. So you're going to start fixing your zipper from the bottom, and then wherever it stops on the top, you're going to cut out the excess. So I'll be doing that off camera now. So the next thing to do now is to fix the sleeve. So first of all, I place the both armhole together, and I'm going to measure to be exactly what I need for my arm side with my sewing allowance. So for this other part of the armhole, I'm going to trim the excess that is there. After measuring, I'll trim the excess so the armhole will be equal. So this is how I align the both armhole to make sure that they are both equal before fixing my sleeve. So for the sleeve part, I have a sleeve pattern I've already cut out before, and all I need to do is just get the length of the sleeve plus my folding allowance. So if you don't know how to cut a sleeve, I'll link a detailed tutorial that I have on the description box so you can cut out your sleeve perfectly well. So after cutting the sleeve pattern on my main fabric and then I folded the bottom, next thing was to align my sleeve to my armhole to stitch with 1/2 inch. So guys, having done that for the sleeve, I'm going to align the side part together and then I will be stitching with my 1 inch seam allowance that is left because I added 1.5 inch seam allowance, and after turning the lining, 1 inch is now remaining. Or you can just take your body measurement and stitch the remaining allowance. So I just went ahead to just take my body measurement. I measured my bust and then I went ahead to note my half length point. Then I measured my round waist on my half length. Then for the M line, instead of using 1 inch seam allowance, I just used 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I used 1 inch from the bust point to my half length. Then for the M, I used 1/2 inch so that it can give me that curve, conical kind of shape. So right now we've gotten to the end of this tutorial. So this is how the top looks on the front and the back and with the neat seam finishing. So if you find this tutorial helpful and you would want to try it out, please give this video a thumbs up and also consider subscribing if you're yet to subscribe. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the comment section. So guys, see you in the next one.